Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. This is the Randy and Glenn show once again from Komprise. Hope everybody's doing very well and is staying safe. We're having our morning coffee and we're doing our second session for the TechKrunch. So today we're going to be talking about a little bit different swing of things. Historically, we always talk about cold data and what to do with the cold data. But we have had a lot of customers come to us and say, hey, my unstructured data is growing at 40% a year. That's like doubling every 2 or 3 years. I need faster performance on my key applications that are sitting on my NAS. How do I get that hot data to an all-flash array? And I don't want to get my cold data over there. I just want to figure out how to size it and what to do about my hot data. So that's what we're going to focus on today, is focusing on that hot data. So we're going to pass it over to Glenn, and he's going to give us a little bit of an update of how much data do we see out in the wild that's actually warm or cold. So Glenn, thank you so much.
All right, thanks, Randy. So if you know anything about Komprise, you know that we're all about analysis and intelligent archiving and things of that nature. We also have the ability to migrate, so you probably know that, but some of the real benefits are combining those capabilities. The things that we see in the industry as we're out there working with customers, and these are real numbers that we get on the back end that we collect from customers that we have, show that almost 75% plus of the data within most customers hasn't been accessed in over a year, and that's taking up a lot of space on primary storage, but there's also backup storage and replicated. So overall, it just, the storage of additional cold data isn't something you want to do. And when you migrate that cold data over, that's not a great thing either.
Good point, Glenn. Hey, folks, while we're at it, there was a couple of folks that said last time we did this presentation, the video for them was blurry. If your presentation is blurry today, there's a setting in the bottom right-hand corner that you can adjust your resolution. Go ahead and adjust that resolution for yourself if you start seeing a blurry video. Okay, Glenn, let's take over.
Yeah, so these TechKrunch sessions are meant to be quick hit technical sessions focused on a use case or a couple of use cases. So today's use case is focusing on finding hot data for migrations. Again, as you know, we do at Komprise, we're really good at intelligent archiving and analyzing data, finding the data finding your hot and cold data on your storage, and moving that out to more appropriate tiers of storage. And we also do migration. But one of the things I found whenever I started at Komprise over a year ago was, and it felt like a little bit of a secret, but we have this capability to combine those two capabilities, the ability to analyze and archive, and the ability to migrate and be smarter about what we actually move. So what I'm going to show today is our ability to analyze and find hot and cold data on your legacy storage before you migrate, archive your cold data before you move to your new storage. So don't even move the cold data over and then maybe archive. We can actually move it beforehand. That allows you to right size your new all flash arrays before moving the data over. And then we actually do the migration. Komprise can do the migration of the hot data and the links to the new arrays faster and easier than any other solution on the planet. The analogy I like to use here is if you buy a new house, my kids are getting older. I'm not looking to getting a smaller house here in the next couple of years. I don't want to move all my stuff over, all my old lamps and everything that I have in this house. I want to go through, if I'm smart, I want to go through and find all my old stuff, maybe put some in storage, and then just move all the stuff that we actually use. That's what we're doing with Komprise, is we're helping you identify the data that's actually in use before you move it over to your new array, your new house. So I'm going to show a quick example here, and then Randy's going to do a demonstration of how easy this is to set up. In my example, I've got a legacy storage environment on NetApp. I'm looking at buying some new pure storage all flash arrays to move the data to. So In the past, what you'd have to do is you would size your new array just to fit the old array, the old amount of data that you have. So you'd have to buy, if you have a petabyte on the initial array, which is what my example shows, you would buy a petabyte plus growth on the new array. So you'd buy, maybe 1.8 petabytes of storage space on the new array, usable storage space, taking into account 20% growth, maybe over 3 years. And then you would just start sending data over, and you'd send all your, not only the data that you wrote yesterday, but the data you wrote 10 years ago. You'd send all of that data over to the new array. But not with Komprise. What we like to do is allow you to be more intelligent about this. So it allows you to analyze first. So we go through and analyze the data on your legacy source. In my example, I've got only 5% of the data is hot, been accessed in the last month, 20% or so warm, that's data's been accessed between a month and a year, and a whopping 75% of the data is cold. And again, like I showed on that first slide, this is not some crazy scenario that we come up with. This is actually what we're seeing in the wild. This is what our customers have. Between 70 and 80%, inevitably, between 70 and 80% of the data in customer environments is cold. So you go through and analyze this. In my example, I'm like, okay, well, that data that hadn't been accessed in over a year, I don't want to move that data over to the new array, but I still need to have it accessible. So now we go through an archive. So you set a policy to archive that data to cloud. And here I've got AWS, Azure, Google, you can send it out there or to some on-prem solution. So I archive my data. But a key benefit of Komprise, again, is our transparent move technology. It's something that only we do. We use industry standard symbolic links to replace the data that we archive, so the data is still accessible on the source, not only by users, but by applications. So once I'm done with my archive, now I do my migration, and Komprise handles all of this for you. But when I migrate the data, I'm only migrating the hot and warm data to my new array. I then move my links over as well, which in turn, whenever I do my final iterations and do my cutover, the data is accessible on the new array through the dynamic links. I don't have to recall the data and re-archive on the new system. I just move the links over and they're fully usable they're fully active on the new array. What this allows me to do ultimately is not only do a very fast migration because I'm only migrating 25% of my overall data, but I also get to reduce cost significantly by reducing the size of the storage requirement on the target side. So in my example here, since I'm only moving 250 terabytes, now I only need 250 terabytes of storage space plus growth. So maybe 500 terabytes total. That's roughly a 260% savings, overall savings in storage capacity on the new array that you purchase. So this scenario, this capability to intelligently archive data or migrate data with Komprise can significantly save your customers money, or save you and your customers money. The really nice thing too, whenever you do your analytics, is we don't leave you in the dark on sizing. We actually build out a storage trend over years. So we show you over 3 years how much storage space you'll need if you don't do anything different. So, let's say you don't decide to archive, we tell you how much space you'll need. So we actually, even if you just want to use us for migration and analysis, we'll tell you about how much space you'll need. So it's very useful in that regard. But the blue line at the bottom is the real benefit. That's how much space you'll need if you implement Komprise and archive based on the policy you have configured. So it's a really powerful tool for sizing before you do your migration, and then we can actually do the migration itself. Now, Randy's going to quickly demonstrate just how easy these capabilities are to implement within Komprise.
Perfect. Good. I'm not sure how to share my screen. I'll just see if this gives the go here. There we go. You see it?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, good. Let me. You see it? You still see my screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So yeah, so talking about how do you find that? How do you find out how much hot data you have and how much cold data you have on your storage? So with Komprise, as soon as you bring up Komprise, the first thing you do is connect it to your source storage. You can see over here we have Pure FlashBlade, Cumulo, Windows servers on Nimble, some NetApp, and some Isilon and things like that. So in this example here, as soon as you connect to the storage, what Komprise does is we start crawling through and getting data about the data. And as soon as within the first hour or so, you can start getting some modeling, some profile about your data. What you're looking at here on the right-hand side is a heat map about the modeling of the data that's out there. The blue shows any files that have not been accessed in more than 1 year. And that means no reads, no writes whatsoever. The darker the blue, the colder the data. So you can see that about 13% of my data hasn't been accessed in more than 3 years, 12% between 2 and 3 years, and then 25% in 1 to 2 years. So there's a lot of cold data. But since we're talking about the hot data today, let's take a look and see how the hot data looks. The hot data is, of course, the red. The redder it is, the hotter it is. So we can see that about 4.5% of the data that's out there has received 100% of the IOs in the last month. That means 100% of the IOs. And then if you keep going around the circle, you can see 10% here, and then 13% here. So roughly 25, 26, 27% of the data out of that 4 petabytes is considered active. Okay, so the customer might say, hey, I want to get rid of the cold data, put it somewhere else, and leave symbolic links behind, and then migrate just the hot data over. So the way you would do that would be to, let's find the cold data, move that off, leave symbolic links behind so you don't have to change your access at all. So in this example, I created a university example. And think about the university might be a medical university that has PACS images, research data, student data, and things like that. So we can quickly go down here and say, let's take a look at my PACS images. If I take those PACS images and they haven't been accessed for 3 months, for example, let's move those over to maybe Scality cold images here. And as soon as we do that, what happens is that data, which represents about 15% of the total data, will be tiered off and moved over to Scality in the cloud. And our session next time is going to be about how to access that data that's in the cloud, by the way. But from an application perspective, it's going to be completely transparent to the application. So as soon as you do your what if scenarios, maybe the student data, if it hasn't been accessed in 3 months, we'll move that over to the cloud somewhere or to some alternative storage. The research professors, if that hasn't been accessed in a while, let's move that somewhere else as well. And as you're doing this, you can see this purple line gets larger and larger. And what that's going to do is clean that loitering data off of the storage platforms and move it over to the next tier. As soon as you hit done editing, you can say activate it. You can activate that plan, and then the cold data gets moved off, and you're just left with the hot data behind. Now what you do, so you've sized your all flash array. You can size it for maybe 25% of the total capacity, maybe a petabyte, or you can size it for a little bit larger, maybe a couple of petabytes, for example. But you don't have to move all of the data. And you can also say, I just want to look at one specific share as well. Maybe you want to look at there's an old share out there. Just look at one single share and look at that one. That one share has 714 terabytes, of which about 82% of it is ice cold, for example. Now you say, okay, I want to tier off that cold data. And now after the data is tiered, I want to migrate the remaining part, which would be the remaining 18% of the data. So then you go over to here and say, it's time to migrate. So you just start a migration task. You select the share where that share is located. That I think it was an SMB share. You select that SMB share. You walk through and select the source and the target. And once you select the source and the target, what happens is the migration starts, and Komprise will leverage our elastic data migration to move that data from one location to another location, real time, while your customers are accessing the data on the primary. And we'll talk about migration in a different TechKrunch series. But what I just showed you is how to locate and profile how much hot data you have, on how to move the cold data off, and then migrate only the hot data to the new storage. So,
all right, thanks, Randy. That's great.
So there was a couple questions, by the way, Glenn, in the chat. We get to see the chat line. I think everybody else doesn't get to see it, but
okay, yeah, okay. I'm
seeing one here. To you.
Yeah, hold on. I see one here. Okay, so this first question: my company's still pretty cloud averse. Do I have to archive to public cloud, or can I use on-prem storage for archive? So, okay, so this is kind of laid out. You know, in my example, I showed sending data out to public cloud, but absolutely, you can use private cloud solutions like, you know, Cloudian and Scality, or, you know, other solutions that are object-based on-prem. And you can even use on-prem NAS if you wanted to go that route. So you know, you're wide open. That's one of the real benefits of Komprise, is that we're storage agnostic and technology agnostic. Really, we can use any of those types of solutions. You don't have to use public cloud. Second question. You want to take this next one, Randy?
Which one? I can't see that one.
Okay. Here's the question. I like what you do with migration of NAS data, but can you do this between cloud providers?
Absolutely. Unstructured data is unstructured data, whether it be Windows, which is SMB, or Unix, which is NFS. Well, you also have Object Store, which is S3. We can do migration from S3 to S3 as well from cloud providers. Yes, we can do that. So we can also, if the cloud provider enables us to look at the last access time, we can also migrate based on access time as well. Yes.
Awesome. Okay, last question we have right now, and if anybody else has questions, please put them in the question area. This last one that I have right now. This person, they like what they see here, but they really want to see it in their environment first. Asking if we do POCs, and the answer to that is absolutely. And our POC capabilities. We've gotten really, really good at doing remote POCs since the pandemic, the quarantine stuff started. It's you know, the POCs that we do, I've done, you know, maybe 25 in the last year. They go, you know, you set up a couple of virtual machines on-prem, and we set up a director normally in the cloud, but if you need it on-prem, we can, and then we can show you all these capabilities in your environment against your data. And almost every opportunity we have, we go down that path and have to and show the capability in a customer's environment before they go forward with the solution.
Perfect. Cool. All right. Any other questions? There was a comment about if we're answering a question, perhaps we can pop into the demo to illustrate the point. Thank you for that. We'll certainly do that if we need to. Appreciate that. Okay, so we finished. And Glenn, is there anything else that you want to add?
Nothing else here. I'm really excited about this. Again, whenever I came into Komprise, this was one of the things that kind of took me by surprise. The ability to combine the capabilities that Komprise has to have this awesome solution to work smarter, not harder when we do migrations. So cool. Really happy to be able to show this to everyone.
Good. So November 4th, we're going to do a really cool TechKrunch. That's posted on our website to register for that. And what we're going to be showing on November 4th is when we tier data to someplace else, like Windows data over to an S3 target, or and whether it goes to Amazon or Google or anybody else, how does an end user, how does a customer still access that data, even if it's in an S3 bucket, for example? Maybe they want to tier 3 years of log files into an S3 bucket and then use that bucket for some data mining, for example, or to retrieve a file or access an air-gap copy as part of a cloud strategy to protect your data offsite. How can you access that data when it's in an S3 bucket in its native Windows or Unix format? So that's what we're going to be focusing on next time. So,
hey, real quickly, I had a couple of other questions while you were talking.
Oh, you did? Okay, sure.
Yeah. All right. So, first question here, just confirming that when you say analyze unstructured data, you are tagging file and object files. The answer there is we're not literally tagging. We have the ability to tag, with our deep archive to tag files within Komprise. But really, what we're doing when we analyze, we collect the metadata around the objects, around the files. So we're talking about location of data, age of data, ownership of the data, and then you can build queries and build policy based on those ideas, on those attributes. So we're not physically tagging the files, on the file systems themselves, but within Komprise, we're building out policy to allow you to do things, different things with those files based on those attributes. And I hope that answered that question. And the last one, Randy, I'll let you handle this. Do you guys work with Cumulo?
Yeah, we do work with Cumulo. There's two questions. I saw one is, I'm cloud averse. Can we write to on-prem storage?
Already took care of that one earlier. Yeah.
Okay, got it. Okay, okay, good. Do we write to Cumulo?
Do you guys work with Cumulo? I'll let you handle that.
We absolutely work with Cumulo. We do migrations to Cumulo. We absolutely work with Cumulo. It's Cumulo has an S3 target, a NFS, and also SMB. So yes, we do.
Yeah. So yes. Answer there is absolutely yes. We work with Cumulo all the time. Right. Okay. Wrap it up. Thanks everybody for your time.
Thanks everybody. Take care. Bye for now.